and I want to say good afternoon to Judge Story and Judge Fleissig. Adequate access to our courts is essential to ensure equal justice under the law. That's why this past July, I worked for the passage of H.R. 1569, a bill adding the cities of Flagstaff and Yuma to the list of locations in which federal district court can be held in the state of Arizona. That legislation addressed the physical barrier often presented to rural and tribal communities, including the Hopi and Navajo nations, that need better access to the federal court system. As we talk about other accessibility measures to the courts, such as video and audio, tribal communities must be part of that conversation. The complexity between statutes, government policies, and U.S. Supreme Court precedents lead to tribal members appearing in federal court proceedings at far higher rates than non-Native Americans. Given the higher interactions with our judicial system, it is critical that accessing the courts is a tangible option for them. Yet as my staff was preparing for this hearing, it was hard to find information on tribal communities accessing the courts from a telecommunications perspective. So I'd like to start there. How is the Judicial Conference addressing the lack of infrastructure, both in terms of courtroom proximity and telecommunications for our tribal communities?
Thank you, and I do want to say I was pleased as a member of the CACM committee to recommend the change in the places where courts sit in your state. And I have to be honest with you, I don't know that our committee has really focused on tribal communities in particular. I know that we have, for instance, recently developed a new telephone system that makes court information available both in English and in Spanish to try and increase access to the courts. And I don't, as a member of the CACM committee, I think that is a question that bears examination.
That's a fair answer. I really appreciate that. It was mentioned in your testimony that PACER can be used to access court documents. Of course, PACER requires an email account and a payment method. It's another reason why in the other committee I'm lucky to serve on, transportation infrastructure, we need to make sure we do more to support broadband access in rural areas and in particular in tribal communities so they can access to justice through the PACER system. One recommendation I might have is that the Judicial Conference reach out to our tribal communities and ask them directly how they can better access our court system moving forward.
Thank you.
I'd like to shift gears to address an issue about the courts in Arizona and that we are facing an extreme shortage of federal judges. Arizona is one of the fastest growing states in the country. There are more than 22 tribal nations in the state that need access to federal courts, and because of the state's proximity to the border, judges have a high numbers of immigration and border-related cases. We desperately need more judgeships to account for these factors. There are currently only 13 authorized judgeships in Arizona, one of which is temporary. The temporary judgeship was authorized in 2002, and while the district's total filings have increased more than 85% since then, no new judgeships have been authorized since. That's 17 years of growth without any new judges in our state. The lack of judges in Arizona run parallel to the larger conversation about accessing the courts. If there aren't enough judges to efficiently manage caseload, then people's access to justice is inhibited. As you know, the Judicial Conference does a comprehensive review of caseloads and judgeship numbers for courts across the country and subsequently recommends how many new judgeships district courts should have. When will the Judicial Conference release their next set of recommendations?
Is this the next set of recommendations with respect to judicial positions?
Yeah, where new judges should be located.
I'm afraid I don't have that information, but we will be happy to get that to you.
The most recent survey for Arizona indicated 7 new judgeships were needed. We were only granted 4 new judgeships, so we'll obviously be advocating for that in the next set of recommendations. We do need to close the gap between tribal communities and the judicial system, and we need to ensure Arizona has the adequate number of judges to address the increasing caseloads that they're handling. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
And Judge, you can answer that
Oh,
question.
please.
If I may, the information I have just received, and thank you.
In real time, all right.
In real time, yes, but not electronic, is that the conference has recommended new judgeships for Arizona. We still wait the introduction of a bill to address our judgeship requests, and every 2 years we do an audit, and it is released in 2019. I hope that assists.
That does. Thank you so much.